Well, tell me truthfully though, does it really feel like you're at the beach?
It feels different than being in my room, I'll tell you that. I'm not looking at my
Okay.
storage shelf behind me, so.
All right. So remind me when your album comes out officially.
Good question. It's a little bit ambiguous. I was hoping the end of the month, but because CD Baby is they're understaffed and overbooked because everybody is submitting so much new material with all this downtime. They
Uh-huh.
basically said we can't guarantee anything.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm hoping the end of the month, if not beginning
Okay.
of June. So, but
Okay, so what you can do is just let me know when it is out and then I can release this if you want, or I can do it to, next
yeah.
week.
However, I didn't know what we'd talk about. If you wanted to talk about royalties, or because that was kind of how this thing got started, you know.
Yeah, why don't you tell me about what you're discovering that realm?
Okay, so royalties. What the f, yo? That's like crazy. So you think you sign up with CD Baby and they're like going to go get all your royalties, but like they only get, okay, let me back up. Royalties. Yeah, so like they only get one little slice. It's crazy. So you have two sets of royalties. You have the artist who makes a product, the CD, the song itself, like the thing that you listen to. And then in the other side, you have the songwriter or publisher. So the artist is distribution for the product, and the songwriter is the thing that's written on a piece of paper that's copyrighted. So these two streams. And on each side of the stream, you have mechanical royalties and performance royalties. And there's like sort of like 6 or 7 categories total in all those. And then you need a company to collect all those royalties. Otherwise, they're just sitting on the table. You're not actually collecting them. And CD Baby, although your distribution royalties are the bulk of what you're going to get, like money-wise,
Mm-hmm.
it's only a slice. You need Sound Exchange to do your performance rights, but that's on the artist side. And then you have BMI and ASCAP, which do performance rights on the publishing side, which is the songwriting side. And most of us are pretty familiar with that. But then who collects your mechanical royalties on the publishing side? That's what our conversation started with, trying to get a publishing administrator, which is what CD Baby Pro is, or Song Trust, or
Yeah.
TuneCore. They all have these arms they're developing now to do this for the artist. And they take 15% for that, and they take 9% from your distribution side. So that was like a week of diving. Every website has like 60% of the information. So you just have to like keep reading, and realizing there's even certain areas where they don't collect any royalties. There are no mechanical royalties on public performances in America. Like if you hear your song on the radio on like an AM FM radio, or in a bar, or someone performs it live, basically that means that the listener doesn't get to choose your song. It's being played for them. There's
Uh-huh.
absolutely no distribution royalties on any of that. Only performance royalties on the publishing side, which then you have BMI or ASCAP to collect. So
Huh.
that's how that started, and that was a whole week of that. But
So
no,
what did you choose for yourself?
I just went with CD Baby for the whole shebang. Since it was my first CD, it just
Uh-huh.
seemed like an easy way to go. And most of the administrating publishing companies, they all take 15%.
Mm.
Now, I have a little bit of doubt because the one person I know who already did this said they didn't see any change in their royalties. And well,
I have. I've seen like publishing a certain
yeah,
amount.
yeah,
It took a little while though.
publishing royalties are super small compared to distribution royalties.
Hmm.
They're just on a physical download. Like if you actually bought a CD, it's technically 9.1 cents per song.
Hmm.
And so that adds up, I guess, after time. But
Sure.
and even it's like 0.0006% of a cent for a stream. So you
Mm-hmm.
need like 1,000 streams to make 60 cents or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then these companies, they take 15%. And so it's a little confusing because you get performance royalties free from BMI or ASCAP, but then you miss the mechanical royalties. So then you get a publishing administrator and they collect all of it and take 15 from the whole shebang.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is 15% of what BMI or ASCAP collects worth the tiny little bit you might collect on mechanical streams and
Mm-hmm.
downloads? just on the publishing side. So as a new artist, I have no idea. But as someone who has like, a prolific, repertoire and been out in the world for a while, I would imagine it's quite a bit. Especially if you play outside of the U.S. Because one thing the administrative publisher does is also collect the royalties outside of the U.S. Your PRO is only U.S. The the BMI or ASCAP is only collects in the U.S. So it's like, who takes care of stuff in Europe or in Asia or something? So, but that was a whole week-long dive. It was pretty intense.
Yeah.
I got lost on the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
Question upon question.
I find this confusing. I'm probably just going to go back use CD Baby as my publisher because I'm confused as to how to collect otherwise. But I did set up my own like publishing company. For
Is that through ASCAP?
Mm-hmm.
So that's considered a vanity publishing company. It exists only in ASCAP. So they don't actually do anything. A publishing company actually goes and gets your royalties.
Right, okay.
There's actually systems you can do this. There's something called Tune Registry for the really dedicated person. You can actually, as a single person, go sign up for every company in the world that collects royalties. But I guess it's an insane kind of process.
You mean like they link you to each website? They don't
so you
send
link
your info.
yourself. You actually sign up directly with like these different companies that collect royalties. You don't go through your distributor. You would connect to like iTunes and Spotify directly. You wouldn't use a distributor in between. Okay. And then there's companies around the world that collect royalties in all the different countries. They're called neighboring rights organizations. And like you can actually sign, it's a big thing. It's so confusing. It just goes deeper and deeper and more complicated.
But so when you go on that website, the Tune, what did you call it?
I think it's tuneregistry.com. There's a whole process. They teach you how to do it. I haven't gotten into it because there's too much to take care of right now.
Well, you seem like you're more left-brained than I am, maybe.
Well, I got lost on this rabbit hole for sure. So it was all left brain, definitely. I mean, there's no creativity in understanding royalty law. So
yeah, I really want to be someone that understands that. And I feel like I've just gotten a lot of mixed information, honestly. Like the reason I went and started my publishing company was because somebody who was assisting me with marketing said that I could be my own publisher and I don't have to give 15% to ASCAP or to CD Baby.
Yeah, except your what we call the vanity publishing company doesn't actually collect anything. It's just it's like a shell entity that your ASCAP or BMI will pay you. Because to complicate things further, on the publishing side, you have songwriter and publishing company, which they divided up. It's just always been that way. These are all antiquated old models that are from the days of where, you got people who are songwriters their whole life and they just sell songs to artists.
Yeah.
And then they usually work for publishing houses. So the publishing house gets half and the songwriter gets half. But us as artists now, we get the whole thing.
Right. But we still just sign up for it separately.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's again why we go to like CD Baby Pro or something like that, or, or Song Trust is another one.
So interesting.
Yeah.
You did all original songs for this album, right? It wasn't mantra?
There's a dash of mantra in there's one song I sing a ton of J-Mas on, and then like I call the mother out like Durga, Lakshmi, and Saraswati. And yeah.
And so. When you submitted that, did you call that an original composition?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I find that really kind of dicey too with the mantras. Like, so Spirit Voyage registered the first ever registration for me for any songs that I'd done mantra-wise in ASCAP. And that's when I was like, oh yeah, I have this ASCAP. I should be putting all my music on there. And they wrote everything so they entered it for me, right? And they wrote everything as original composition. And I thought that was really interesting. I'm like, well, I didn't write any of these mantras. But on the other hand, if I write, Guru Nanak was the author of these lyrics, he's not getting any money for it.
There's like, I think in the copyright law in America is like the person who after you die, so I think your copyright lasts for up to 70 years and then it's public domain.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these mantras are definitely older than like a couple generations. So, I mean, I don't know how that works. That's a really good
Sure.
question. I have not even thought about.
Well, there is like a public domain thing. You can select public domain, but
Oh,
then you still have to write who the original author was, I think. And anyway, and for some of the mantras that I did, I really had no idea who to put.
that's a really good point, though, for the next album, which is definitely going to be like all mantra or
Uh-huh.
mostly mantra. Like this album's about 99% English with a dash of mantra, and I don't think anyone's copyrighted J Ma or the name of the
Uh-huh.
goddesses, at least that I'm
No.
aware of.
Yeah.
So I guess they can come after me and get my pennies from me because, so we'll see.
Yeah.
But
Apologize later.
yeah, yeah, I never even thought about that. That's a really good point. Just another rabbit hole to fall down. So,
Yeah. Did you start this album like over a year ago? How
well,
long
the
did
the album itself, the content arrived 6 years ago,
Okay.
and it's been around for a long time, floating, kind of maturing and growing in me. And then last about a year ago, February, I said I got the hit that it was time to record it, and then I started contacting my friend Vito, who is going to be the producer, and we met for the first time right after Satnam Fest, actually.
Hmm. Is
And
he
then
Sonata's producer?
no,
No, how do I know that name, Vito? Do I know that?
Vito, he, I don't know, he does a lot of stuff. He lives in Topanga Canyon. Do you know Kimberly Haynes? He did her album recently,
Yeah,
2 years ago,
she's my Facebook
3 years.
friend.
Yeah, he's an amazing multi-instrumentalist, and
What's his last name?
Vito Grigoli.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
what
he's
was
a
that like?
ridiculous bass player. Oh my God.
Oh.
Yeah. No matter who I ever produce my records again, he will probably be the guy on bass, and
So
which is pretty cool. So
he was playing live at Satnam Fest when you met him?
no, we met because his friend Kimberly Haynes, he produced her first singer-songwriter album as well. And they were doing a little tour to promote it, and they came to Arizona and they were looking for a drummer, so they hired me. And it was really funny because her backup band was Vito and Vidu, and we got a really big kick out of it. I actually
Like
put
you
that on
do.
the I actually used it on the back of my CD. All tracks performed by Vito and Vidu. It's cute. So, and we all just fell in love with each other. So they asked me to go on the rest of the tour, and I couldn't do it because I had previous obligations. But then I just filed it away. And this particular CD was just a lot of words. It's really thick, a lot of storytelling, and that was a lot like her album. So I thought it just felt like the right fit.
Yeah.
Knew how to fill it in, and
Oh,
give
cool.
my little babies the right costumes, so to speak.
Hmm. So how long did it take from start to finish about?
The recording process, we met in April and we did like a brainstorm, and then I went back and really hashed out the scratch tracks. And then I think the recording process was like 6 weeks, maybe 5 weeks. I drove out to Topanga Canyon like 7, 8 times.
You don't mean April. You mean April last year, right?
April last year, yeah.
Okay. I
April.
was like,
So
wow, that
this
is.
all happened last summer. With the last, and then we did a record. Yeah, the recording finished in middle of August.
Okay.
And then we were going to take the month of September off because of like all the festivals that were happening then. And then my partner and I bought a house, and then we remodeled it. So I just disappeared, and he got busy with other projects. So we swung back around and we finished the mastering a couple months ago. And
That's nice. It's nice to have a break between when you record and when you do the rest. I find so
yeah,
there's not so much pressure.
super well, and fresh ears, like I the whole time I was working on the house and I took 3 months off, I didn't think about the music at all. It was just really nice to like separate it. So
Yeah.
step away. It's kind of cool.
So why did all the inspiration come 6 years ago? Did something momentous happen?
Oh, definitely. So the album is really songs that arrived during this really intense period where Divine Mother came into my life in a very concrete, undeniable way. It started in 2013 at Bhakti Fest, actually. She just showed up playfully, and she was like talking to me as if we're talking right now, like I could have conversation with her. And this understanding Divine Mother for me is like the truth in your heart, or guru, or God, or your deepest truth in your heart.
Do you mean like as like eminent, like you could hear a voice, you could see a figure, or like she was coming through people?
It's hard to she was everywhere because
Okay.
she's been very strong in my life, and I did a lot of medicine work, specifically with ayahuasca. And to me, Divine Mother and ayahuasca are like one. Grandmother energy specifically.
Let's put a little pin in that. I'll come
You can
back
come
to
back.
that.
We can circle back. So it's hard to say like she's talking to me. It's like an intuitive talking.
Mm-hmm.
But she showed up and she's like, she just suddenly came. I just felt this. She's like, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I'm not someone who asks for a lot, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "Okay, I want a hug." And like literally 10 seconds later, someone walks by with the free hug sign. And I'm like, "Oh, okay. I want to see an old friend I haven't seen for a while." And like literally 30 seconds. And like, I wasn't extravagant. I felt like the assignment, I could just feel where she was coming from. She's like, "Ask for anything simple and I'm going to give it to you." And the exercise was, look how close I am.
Mm-hmm.
Look how fast I respond to your heart. And then after that, I was on a road trip after Bhakti Fest, and I met this woman. She literally, I was at Harbin Hot Springs, kind of meditating, and this beautiful woman literally just floated into my arms. And I looked down, and then I floated her for like 2 hours, and it started a relationship that was super intense, super intense. And Divine Mother was giving me all these instructions. Really, just understand your heart. You know, sometimes my instructions, when they come, they're really clear. Bless you, bless you, bless you. You're so fast. You even muted.
I know when it's coming, and I'm doing a podcast.
Yeah. So, and then this relationship, we went through a lot of intense things, not because we were like not in love or not doing, you know, not getting along, but just circumstances of life. And so the first track came in November, the second track came in December, the third track came in the next January, and then 2 months later, 10 more tracks came in one weekend. Just like, I was writing, trying to capture all the lyrics as they came through. And then a few of the songs just didn't ever grow up. They were just like, you know, and one of the songs was just for this woman who I was with at that time. It was just for her, mm-hmm. You know, when the relationship ended. And the instructions were very clear that were like, "You're going to record these. It felt like more like this whole project feels like a senior recital. Like, Divine Mothers, I have an assignment for you. I need you to sing these songs." And like, some of these songs I've loved and hated some of the lyrics, because I like all the judgments I have about myself are wrapped up in these lyrics. You know, she's like, "You're going to sing them, and you're going to sing them from your heart." You know, it honestly took 6 years for them to mature, for me to mature, really. So
that's
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I hope people are touched by it, you know.
Do you feel I feel sometimes like when I'm writing, I'll get a download, but I'll like second guess it. I'll try to edit it, or I'll try to, you know. Oh, yeah. And I found myself doing that actually like about an hour ago, and I was like, no, let's just see what happens. And I wrote it out, and I'm like, print or publish.
Yeah. I find it good for growth when you land in a place that's uncomfortable. You're like, mm-hmm. I don't like that lyric, but somehow your heart said it, and you're like, you kind of have to honor it. Mm-hmm. You know, so
what's it like to perform something that you feel uncomfortable with?
Mostly uncomfortable. You know, over time, I guess it just gets easier. Hopefully, you know, you own where you're uncomfortable, and then that opens the journey inward to be like, okay, so why am I uncomfortable? Why am I resisting this lyric? What am I hiding? Or mm-hmm. Where's some secret shame or judgment, or, you know, ultimately where's some secret pain, mm-hmm. which really just is, you know, ultimately a misperception. But being an eternal divine being, you can't really be hurt ultimately. Mm-hmm. The idea of me can totally be shattered, but like me, my essence, no. So somewhere in between my essence and the false little drama I'm having is like this beautiful lyric that's trying to sort of bridge the difference.
Have you done them live?
I've done a few of them over the years. One of them, the "May I Have the Strength," that got kind of turned into a kirtan song that we did once in a while. But mostly not. They just came out once in a while. They were really just like cocooning the whole time, you know, until last Saturday. I performed 3 of them live on a kirtan stream we did. So, but yeah, they really haven't been performed much. And like the album, it's a studio album, and like Vidu and I play tons of instruments. So it's really not something that I can recreate live, mm-hmm. you know, unless I have some crazy huge band. And that would be really cool someday to have like some crazy band and like some backup singers like, getting down. That would
If
be
I'm
really
mother,
neat.
I would like a crazy huge band.
Just once. I don't need it like forever.
Yeah.
Just to do some fun productions, you know?
I I have to share the story of how we came to know each other a little bit better, because I knew of you, and we had played music together at Bhakti Fest, a few times, and then again at Satnam Fest, and then for whatever reason, I asked you to come to the East Coast to play this gig at the end of last October
Across the country.
across the country.
Yeah, that beautiful little fall festival.
And I managed to pay for your ticket and transportation, and we were very well taken care of. They gave us food and whatever, but I was going through a pretty emotional time like right then, and
Life-changing.
so was Andy, who was also present to sing with us,
Yeah.
and she stayed for the second day too, I think, right?
Yeah, she stayed for the workshop. Yeah.
Yeah, so we did one concert. So we did the concert at the Millis Yoga Festival, and the next day at the at
In the
also in the
ashram.
ashram at my
Yeah.
workshop. And what was so interesting about it was, for what was it, like a week before, or you were saying you were thinking like, why am I coming out for this?
I'm like, there's got to be some kind of drummer on the East Coast that's decent. Like, why did she fly me out? You know, and I know our mutual friend Monica is always like my biggest, promoter. So like
Yeah.
maybe she planted a seed of some sort. But
I
yeah,
I think it was just so meant to be, because I
yeah,
honestly could not, it like did not cognate, is that like it did not
I know
compute
what you mean.
that I could hire somebody on the East Coast. Like that thought just never crossed my mind, right?
Well, lucky me.
Yeah. So anyway, you show up and it's like so obvious why you're there.
Yeah, we immediately just dropped in. Like we never really had much of a conversation right up until that moment. Like,
Right.
other than like, hey, let's rehearse this music and we'll play. And then like, okay, thank you, bye.
Right. Yeah,
And
it
we
was so
immediately
funny. I was
dropped
like,
in.
I'm dealing with this drama of, my husband deciding that he wants an open relationship, and now I'm in this great other relationship, and yada yada yada. I'm contending with like, leaving my husband, whatever. And in opening up this conversation, you were like, "Oh, I'm in an open relationship." And that was actually the first time I'd ever met anybody that told me that.
Huh.
So anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. And then it turned out that you also became like coach for Andy.
Ah, just a reminder of gentleness in her life. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. So
That's
it
kind of
was,
my message.
yeah, it was such a sweet, like perfect, perfect moment, perfect little weekend.
It was really sweet. Like, just to come in and drop in with you, I was like, okay. Like you said, it was abundantly apparent right away. And then as the weekend stretched on, we're like, oh, there's more. I see. I joke. I never go anywhere without two reasons. So,
Mm-hmm.
you
Ah,
know,
okay.
I
Oh,
never
I
do.
like
I don't
that.
go to the store unless I have two reasons to go.
Like two different kinds of food, or
Or
it
so, yeah,
sounds
who knows? Or
fun
just two
and you
reasons.
want corn.
Yeah. That could be two reasons. As long as it's not just one, it's very inefficient.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But it was very sweet, and I'm grateful. So.
Yeah.
And you had just decided you were going to do these podcasts, I think. Then you're like, or you had just started, or you were talking about.
I had done a few. Yeah, I remember, because the week before the festival, I had like scheduled a whole bunch to record. Yeah,
Yeah, that's okay. I remember.
because I had free time.
Yeah, which you filled up. You
I
filled up.
did.
You filled up with lots of love.
I did. Yeah.
Still loving. The fruits are still happening, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, yeah. We are here. I am fully transitioned into the new paradigm of my life, and it's nice. It seems like everyone has. So yeah,
Lovely. So
yeah.
you want to circle back on the medicine talk?
Yes, I
Very
was
excited about
not
that.
gonna remember. So
No, that's
please,
fine.
yeah.
Whatever. Like, so
I'm
what
also
do you want
I'm
to know about that?
tell me about your experience. Why do you do it? What do you
Oh
get from it?
goodness. So let's see. I always understood, I don't know why, but I always had this belief that psychedelics and consciousness expansion were they go hand in hand. I just always did. And I
Have you
wasn't like
seen that documentary? Have you seen
which
the one
one?
on Netflix? It's called, I think it's just called Psychedelics.
I have not.
But I was talking to Juan, my partner, about, I was like, do you know I knew this guy named Zach Leary for like 7 or 8 years, 10 years maybe. And I never knew who his father was. And then like 10 minutes later, he shows up on the screen giving doing an interview about this thing. It's a really great documentary. You should check it
Okay.
out, but I proceed.
No, that's fine. I'll check it out. It's really great that psychedelics are coming out as medicines, and there's places around this country which are decriminalizing these things. These things are not drugs; these are medicines. Of course, any medicine can be abused, but that's a different story. So my story started like I had an itch to discover psychedelics after I graduated college. I was pretty straight edge all the way through college. And then after college, I was like, okay, I'm an adult now. I can do what I want. I've at least proven to the world that I can show up and take care of what needs to be taken care of. And so, yeah, I think I tried mushrooms and ecstasy and LSD the summer after I graduated college.
Yeah, you didn't waste any time.
But no, I was ready, and it was clearly amazing. And then, it was like a year or two later that I had a dear friend once come up to me and said, "You ever heard of ayahuasca?" And I was like, "I what?" And this is kind of before it hit the scene here in America. And he's like, "This is crazy as Peruvian potion. You drink like a thimble, and you almost like go crazy, but you have this like shamanic journey." And I'm like, "Let's do it." And like this guy, my friend, my dear friend, oh God, I love him. We were psychonauts for many years together, as they say. And we were through the analog years, which were the early 2000s, where they were making all kinds of psychedelic chemicals and then changing the molecule before the government could catch up legally. So we were legally doing lots of psychedelics getting made from China, but that's a whole nother story. But just to give you a background of his and I relationship, dear friend, we did a lot of exploring together. So he says, "I got this stuff, we'll make it, and we'll go to the woods." And so we went to the woods, we drank like a tiny little bit. We're like,
and
like,
you did it yourself? Like you acquired?
He had bought this stuff off the internet. He didn't. He's an incredibly smart person, like insane IQ. I mean, physicist. He worked for CERN and Fermilab, where they collide atoms and stuff. I mean, like he's ahead. And so I trusted him. And then so we're just like, we go out to the woods and like we're like set an intention and a prayer. We're like, "Spirits, please protect us." Like we don't know what we're doing, but what's in our hearts. So we take it and then nothing happens, and then we take it and nothing happens, and nothing really happened like on that level. But the craziest story, and I love this story. So he's like, we end up drinking all the stuff we made, and we're just kind of like just a tiny little bit relaxed, which is a side effect of an MAOI.
MAOI.
I forget, it's a monoxide something inhibitor. It's what allows the medicine and the DMT to not be broken down in your stomach. I'm forgetting the word right now off the top of my head. Okay. I haven't said it for years, so it's like.
Is that what ayahuasca is? Is DMT?
Yes, it's actually two plants. One is the leaf that has the DMT, and one is the vine, which is considered the shaman, which is where the spirit of the plant lives. But there's no psychedelic nature in the vine, but it contains a chemical which allows you to not digest this psychedelic, which is basically like the Star Trek translator. It opens up the portal and it keeps it open so you can communicate with this this what I call grandma, we call grandmother spirit, divine mother, for lack of a better word. But nothing happened that first night, except I was visited by my very first spirit guide, and this night was the beginning of what I consider my spiritual journey. So I'll tell you this story just because it's fabulous. So he's like, "Finally, let's roll a doobie." So he's like, he rolls a doobie and we're smoking and we're happy and we're looking at the trees and it's beautiful out. And like a meteorite from heaven, this gigantic moth comes, crashes into our fire, and the fire like shoots up and the moth goes boosh, boosh, boosh on fire off the fire pit. And we're like, like what the F? And we're like, okay, that thing was on fire. I think I should go put it out of its misery. And I go around the fire pit, and the shadow was so dark. It could have been an inch deep. It could have been a bottomless pit. I couldn't see anything. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to let nature do its thing. So he and I are there contemplating like, wow, what is a moth? Like, does a moth's life suck that bad? Or it's like, maybe it just, or maybe it's just like surfing lifetimes. You're like just jumping through the portal of death. Like, no problem. We got this. They're just, don't forget, right? They're just flying through death. So we didn't know. Anyway. So then 20 minutes goes by and this thing crawls up onto the fire pit. We're like, it's alive. Yay. You know, we celebrate. But one wing is singed and you can see it's moving its wings really slowly and it's like shuddering. And we're like, oh. And after about 15 minutes, it starts going, we're like, it's going to fly. And it goes right to the center of the fire. Gone. No smoke, no ash, like purple flame. Like, we're like, and I'm like, what? And I hear this. I am the moth. I am eternal. My commitments go beyond death. And I was like, whoa. That blew my mind. I actually wrote a song about that, but that's not on the new album. But so that was the night of my initiation. And then 3 months later, I was a part of a group called Chicago Consciousness Cafe, which was a group of all age people who gathered to talk about psychedelics as a tool for awakening. And their assignment was to read Terence McKenna. And now I could talk about Terence McKenna for days. He's such a quirky little character. But to just summarize, I read his Archaic Revival. And in that book, he says, if you take 5 grams of mushrooms or more, you will meet the alien intelligence that sent mushrooms to Earth. And I was like, Terence, you just can't make statements like that. Because like, I had a very good relationship with mushrooms at that point. At that point, that had been my main spiritual tool.
And is 5 grams a lot?
It's a lot. It's what you call a heroic dose, where you are not functionable. Like it takes you over.
Heroic dose. All right.
That's what it's called. I mean, that's what he calls it.
Yeah.
And so, and I had just gotten some mushrooms in my life and I pulled one out and it was gigantic. And I said, we're going to talk. And I put them away. I didn't know what I was saying. And so that November, my friend, the same friend, he sat for me. We went out to that same place, that same location, which became a pilgrimage for 10 years, that location in Kentucky. And I took this mushroom and I proceeded to meet Divine Mother for the first time in like a very real way. Like she showed up and she was not like the mother, she was the benevolent gardener. And she held me to her bosom. And I never knew love like that before that moment, in this life anyway, this body. And I bawled for 3 hours and I journeyed through so many beautiful visions and perspectives. And the next day we went to the cafe, the Consciousness Cafe, to share. Okay, here's my research. I actually put him to the test. And I met a woman who would then introduce me to the guy who had introduced me to ayahuasca. And so that next year I sat with him 3 times and he moved away. And I was like, we got to keep this going. He's like, well, I have a student here. I'll give the medicine to him. I talked to the student. He's like, well, I don't want to organize. So I started doing the organization, putting all the groups together, spaces, all the stuff. And then he left. And so I went and visited the first guy, not study with him, but just work with him for a week. He just wanted to know where my heart was. He's like, your heart's good. I'm going to give you the medicine. I got 1 batch of medicine, and this was coming from Peru. And let me just sidebar here. So this guy, and I'm not using names just because I want to be respectful of everybody's privacy, but this guy got introduced to ayahuasca because he's a doctor in Chicago at the time and a chemist. And some friend says, hey, I have this guy from Peru. He's a shaman or something. He needs a place to stay for a few weeks while he gets settled because he's trying to move to the United States. Well, these two ended up living together for 2 years. And so he got totally inundated with ayahuasca. And this was a shaman who was coming from Peru where it was all light and dark magic and a lot of occult kind of energies. And he was trying to get rid of that. He's like, no, it's all one thing. It's all love. And so he would tell me stories that they would just drink ayahuasca in the hot tub and like philosophize all night and journey together where they soak in a hot tub. I mean,
so
totally
they weren't
out
throwing
of the,
up.
What's that?
They weren't throwing up.
They might have been, but
Who?
I don't think in the hot tub, but I mean, he didn't give me all the details. And you don't throw up every time, for the record.
Okay.
It's not an every time thing. You know, it happens when it happens and sometimes it doesn't. Like I worked with the medicine for 12 years. I had sometimes 2 years go by where I didn't. And then I had a time for every ceremony that year, which was something like 50 a year. And I'll explain why there was so many. I threw up every time. I purge. It's not throwing up, it's purging. It's a sacred happening. I love it. But, you know, most people hate that sort of thing. So anyway, I met him, he gave me the medicine, and I got 1 batch of medicine. I did my very first ceremony, and this was me leading ceremonies now. And what he told me, he's like, the only thing you need to lead ceremony is an open heart. And the rest, I let the medicine teach me. She taught me ceremony. So so then after that first batch of medicine, the medicine that was getting sent from Peru, it got compromised. The person sending it got in trouble.
Hmm.
So we raised a bunch of money, got them out of trouble, but then no more medicine.
Hmm.
And so then I started ordering ingredients online, initially from the Netherlands of all places, because they were importing it from Peru, and then I was getting it from the Netherlands.
Hmm.
Who knew, right? And that lasted like a year and a half, and I taught myself how to start making medicine. And the medicine was really teaching me ceremony. You know, there was a call for opening the space, and that came from this original shaman. And it was like, it's a Quechua call. It's a really rare call. And it does the directions in a different order. It calls to south for release, to the great serpent. It calls to the west for the jaguar, for strength and integrity, the north to the ancestors for knowledge, and to the east for vision and for traveling beyond yourself, and then to the mother and the father. So it's a little different, but.
Is there a different protocol for imbibing or not taking the medicine when you're leading the ceremony?
No.
No. So it's like you're in it.
Yeah, I took the medicine. Up until my very last year and a half of serving, I would take just a tiny bit, just to be communing with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the last 6 months, I didn't take it much. But this was all. So over the 10 years of serving medicine, she started in the beginning. She gave me all my instructions. She's like, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. And I just was, okay. And over time, she's like, cool, you have this area. Why don't you can do what you want now? So I let you have it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by like 7 years in, she let me have the whole ceremony. The only thing she wouldn't let me change was the call to space.
Mm-hmm.
Everything after that, she was like, you understand enough now, you can have it. And during that time, I met Prem, Brazilian guru, Sacha lineage in Rishikesh. And he was a shaman. He still is a shaman. You know, he was a shaman at 16 with the Central Daime Church. And so I meet this guru who does, medicine, and that's how I met him. He was actually traveling in the US doing medicine at that time. He does not do that anymore. I don't think he does much medicine anymore, except back at his ashram in Brazil.
Mm.
And so I had the distinct pleasure of being in Brazil with him once and learning how to brew with him, which was like a whole nother thing. And I was making ayahuasca, and they make daime, which is a slightly different process. And then I went back, and he gave me his blessing to do whatever I wanted. He's like, do what your heart says. He's like, Divine Mother's got you. He recognized, like, one of the first things he said to me, he's like, you're fine. Just listen to Ma. And I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, how cool is that your guru says that? And so, yeah, I just, over the years, I refined my process, and I refined my ceremony, and I was doing about 50 ceremonies a year, traveling, and, I would travel for a month in the mainland and do two ceremonies a weekend, and then take a month off back in Maui and make medicine, and then go back on the road. And then it's 5 years ago, actually this month. I must be talking about it. I'm officially out of the statutes of limitations, so thank you. It matters. It really matters, because I was finishing.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious.
Oh, okay. How does that work?
Well, you have 5 years. DMT is a Schedule I drug, 7 years, one dose. And I did thousands. But I'm officially past the mark, so.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Interesting that classification.
Yeah, well, these days it's really, it's in the open now. People are doing it, advertising on Facebook. But when I was doing it, there was a lot of, it was hush hush. I joked that I lived with the mycelium under the earth. I never stuck my head up. I just lived in the darkness. Stayed very small. I didn't put myself out on social media lots. I didn't have to. It was all by email, and that was it. But nowadays it's a little different, and it's really great for the culture itself and for the medicine and for the people who need it. But so 5 years ago, she comes to me, the medicine, right after a ceremony, and I was feeling I was going to need a break. I'd taken a few breaks over the years, and I was feeling crunchy, and I was like, okay, that's a sign that I need to step away and process. And I was cleaning up ceremony, and I was what's called is re-jarring the medicine, which is you reboil it, because it ferments immediately. And if you don't reboil it, it turns to vinegar. No bueno. And so I was cooking it, and I'd done this, I don't know, thousands and thousands of times. I mean, thousands. And I went to the sink, and put it under the warm water, again, thousands of times, and it exploded. I mean, the jar exploded.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it was crazy because I was like, I stopped, I froze, I checked to make sure there wasn't glass. All the glass went in the sink, and all the medicine shot across my friend's kitchen. And my arm and my neck. Now, this was crazy. I cleaned up the kitchen, and it was hours later, and I had this stunning realization. I had like a tiny little bump on my wrist. I'm like, why is that itching? And what you don't realize is when you're canning, you're boiling. It's boiling liquid.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give you the timeline. Okay, it's boiling. I'm pouring it into the jar, put the lid on, walk over to the sink, boom. And it was on my arm, like covering my forearm. I should have no skin on this arm.
Yeah.
So she, in that moment, she's like, whoop, alternate reality where physics don't work exactly the same. And she's like, just want you to know we're done. And she wasn't nice. She's like, thank you, we're done. And I'm like, okay, wow, my whole life just changed. What's happening? And like, to me, that little sign that she did not burn my arm off was like, thank you for your service. I just want you to know how much I love you, but I also wanted to make it very clear that you don't mess with me. And I was like, okay. Like, and this was such an amazing gift because everything that I had identified with, who I was, how I got adoration, how I got love, how I got purpose, how I got value, how I was even supporting myself. It was not, I didn't make a lot of money. That wasn't the point, but I did support myself. My lifestyle, everything I was identified with almost, or like, 18 out of 20 identities, all just went, floop. And I was completely like, who the hell am I? I just heard her laughing, and the instructions was, it's time to sing. It's time to sing. And it was right before that I actually moved from Maui to the mainland because my heart's like, it's time to sing. So crazy enough. Anyway.
And you landed in Arizona?
I was shooting at Sedona. And then there was a friend who brought me down to Phoenix. And like, I wanted to, ironically, my prayer was to sing more. And so Divine Mother's like, here's Phoenix, where there's the 5th largest city in the country where there's no kirtan happening.
Right.
Here you go, get to work. So
was Monica chanting at that time?
She was not. She had been chanting throughout the years, but she was dealing with some health issues at the time, and she had sort of been out of commission for 3 or 4 years, I think.
I'm understanding the chronology now. Okay.
Yeah, there was like 3. I think she was out, and I didn't know her right away then, but.
Yeah. So when I first met you, you were coming from Maui to Bhakti Fest, or were you always in Phoenix?
No, I was in Maui, I think, when we first met.
Okay.
I don't know exactly remember what year we met, but. Yeah. So. That's a very short, condensed version.
I'm sure.
All I can say it is the update to the medicine. Divine Mother hasn't changed in me. Instead of using a nuclear bomb, which is kind of what ayahuasca is to me, it's so powerful. Now that I use mantra and yoga, which is more like a scalpel, more articulate. And it's like, and I don't need that much energy to move.
When do you feel it's necessary? And
when do I feel it's necessary?
For somebody, like if somebody's listening to this and going, I've been curious about this. I wonder.
There's only one time when it's necessary, when your heart says, let's do it. If you're questioning it, it's a no. Unless it's a full yes, don't do it. And if it's a full yes, do it and surrender. That's the main lesson in ayahuasca is surrender, because it takes you over. I mean, when you're retching your brains out and you can't stop and you just surrender to that process. You surrender to everything she's going to show you. You surrender to whatever she wants, wherever she wants to take you, terrifying ecstasy or, just plain old death. She takes you through all of it. And, after 12 years of doing it and some 400 ceremonies, I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't have the love in my heart without her. She wouldn't be living in my heart the way she's living in my heart if I hadn't prepared the vessel through all that work. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
When you mentioned Prem Baba, I thought about this documentary that I'm not even sure how to describe her relationship to me. It's my dad's soon-to-be wife's daughter. And she just produced
sister-in-law?
My soon-to-be sister-in-law. She just produced a film with, I think, a couple of other people. That's a documentary on Prem Baba. Have you seen it?
No.
It's called Chasing the Present.
No,
So
I
it
haven't
hasn't
seen that
been like
one.
officially released, but yeah.
You know, he had a little fall a couple years ago too, like so many gurus.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
his was like pretty gentle. I mean, like respectively, you know, compared
Yeah.
to something like what we're hearing now about Yogi Bhajan, for instance.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and that was let me just talk about that for a second. That was a really powerful experience to watch that happen, and how beautiful that our gurus fall.
Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness. The destroyer of pedestals and the destroyer of holes.
Mm-hmm.
Like after he had it, I actually had a dream where I saw his white tower fall and shake the ground so hard that all the pedestals in the world crumbled and filled all the holes. So then we were all equal. It was, I don't know, it was really profound.
Yeah.
How else will we discover that we don't trust God unless our gurus fail us?
Yeah.
So, great lesson. Anyway, but I love Prem Baba. I hope to see him again soon, actually.
Yeah. Is he continuing to teach? And
oh yeah, he's definitely still doing his work. He took some time and integrated that whole process, but he's still got plenty of followers and plenty of disciples. Although I don't consider him my guru, he's definitely my friend and teacher. The truth is 4 years after I was with him, or started really being with him, Divine Mother, she's the one who sent me to him. She came in and literally one night she gave me that. She gave me like this. She went, boom. She gave me a little hip and like knocked him out of my heart. And she's like, "That's my seat. Thanks for keeping it warm." And she sat down in it. And that's when he became my friend. And he actually calls me his friend now. He doesn't call me his disciple.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he called me his friend first. And I was like really confused. I'm like, I'm your disciple, I'm not your friend. And then like 6 months later, I was like, oh, thanks for the seed.
Yeah.
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 Pretty cool.
That's cool. I mean, it's when you were saying that, it was so cool that he just told you to basically trust your own guidance. And I mean, that's what I think a good teacher is there for, right?
Yeah. If a teacher's really good, they become obsolete.
Yeah.
They just like ayahuasca. She told me at the end, she's like, "You don't need me." I'm like, "I did my job." Like, you now go to the next thing.
Yeah.
Like Prem Baba's the same, he's so beautiful. So I really do love him to just like crazy. So.
Well, Vidu, if people want to find out more about you and your music, how can they connect with you?
Right on. Thank you for asking. You can, my website is premvidu.com, just like it's spelled, premvidu.com. And you can go on Facebook, Prem Vidu and the Band of Now. The Band of Now being sort of the kirtan arm of what I do. It's actually much more deep than that, but it's really a concept of creation working together, but that's another whole story, I imagine. But people can find me. I'm out there. Honestly, Prem Vidu, I'm just blessed with Google because there's no other Prem Vidus in like Google. I'm already at the top of Google. So if people want to find me, they can find me. I'm definitely out there. I see your kids. Hey, buddy, he wants to get in there. Hey, you're getting so big.
I'm just 4.
Yeah, but you're like a big 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's standing up so you can.
Yeah, I can see that. Right on, buddy.
Yep.
It's fun to watch your kids. Thanks for sharing all your little kid stories on Facebook. It's really fun to watch along. And I know her name's not Mitter Simran anymore. She's got a different name on Facebook. Your sister-in-law.
Miss Duck, but I'm not sure if she's still going by. I think she's still going by Mr. Simran. She hasn't.
Oh, maybe I just misunderstood. Maybe she's got a different Facebook avatar thing going.
I think it's Miss Duck.
Yes, Miss Duck. Anyway, I just love watching your whole family do its thing in Seattle. It's really fun. So.
Are you at the beach?
Yes, I am at the beach in my heart anyway. Do you like that? Do you want me to go to space? Check this out, buddy. Watch this. You're going to like this. Dun, dun, dun. How about that? Now I'm floating in outer space. Yeah. That's pretty cool, huh?
Do our trick.
Magic. That's a trick of Divine Mother. I give it all to her.
No, but go somewhere else.
Okay, how about I become an ant? How about that? I'm super small. Like,
Okay. Go to the forest.
Go to the forest? See if I can. I don't know if I can do that. We'll see. I don't think I have a forest. But what if I go to some pretty sky? How about that?
What? What? You're falling down in the sky.
Superpowers, my friend. Don't worry. You'll have them someday.
You know his name is Prem, right?
Yes, I do.
Same first name, yeah. You guys have the same first party.
Love.
Yeah.
He's all love. Look at that beautiful boy.
What's your name?
I'm Prem Vidu. You can just call me Vidu.
What? You said Prem.
Yeah,
That's
Prem.
a part of my name. That's a part of my name.
Yeah, you want to call me Prem instead?
Yeah.
Okay, you can call me Prem. Anybody can call me Prem. It's really fine. Some people do. Oh gosh, I want to just channel your amazement and wonder. Can you just give me some of that? Just put it right here.
Gosh, before we do any before I'm even fully awake, he's proposed 5 projects. Let's have a pillow fight. Let's make musical instruments. I'm like,
Oh, blessed are you. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
future movie star right there. I can see it.
My mom.
Yeah, you picked a good one, buddy.
Oh, thank
Good job.
you. He's a love. All right, you're a love. Thank you so much for doing this.
A pleasure to spend time with you, Porter. Thanks for having me on the podcast. Congrats with everything.
Thank you. He's kissing me. He wants you to wait.
Kiss you right back.
About it, I can tell.
Hey, if you have a forest magic.
I don't have the forest. They don't give me that option.
Oh, but you're behind it.
What about this one? You ever been to San Francisco?
Why, you're in Africa.
Africa? Wow.
Does that look like Africa? Why does that look like Africa?
Because you had that. Because you had
The rocks?
no.
Or the bridge?
It's because you had the bridge.
Oh, okay.
It looks like Africa.
That's cool. I've never been to Africa, so who's to say it's not Africa? Who knows?
Could be.
When you post these, yeah. Anyway,
Well, I'll post the video.
I
can post the video now.
How about do
once this is done.
How
I
about
think
do
the video will be
Magic
fun.
Africa? How about do Magic Africa? How about
you want to do a magic in Africa? Is that what you said? I couldn't listen to both of you.
No. What can you do with your magic power?
Can I do which part? What do you want me to do?
Wait till he meets you in person and
Go
expects you to
to
change the landscape.
Africa.
Go to Africa? I don't think I can do that one. This is all I got. You want to see something really boring? Here's my room. How about that? This is what it actually looks like. It's very exciting.
Can I see our park in your house?
You want me to give you a tour?
Yeah.
You can edit this out if you want there, Porter.
I wish I
I
could.
won't. I'm not going to edit this video. So
Well, this is
don't show us
awesome.
anything.
I don't mind.
Can
Here,
I wish
wanna
I
see?
You just give me magic powers.
I'm going to show you the house. Look.
He wants
Here, we're
to
gonna walk.
have the same magic powers as you.
So we have purple walls. How cool is that? And orange walls.
They actually look red to the camera.
Okay. So here's so this is pretty cool. We did all this remodeling last fall.
Fun. You got a purple sky?
Yeah, Cassandra once said, I want to be brave enough to make the ceiling really dark. And I said, just go for it, love. And she says, I want purple. So
Nice.
there's our kitchen and our little, can you see it? It's hard to tell.
Yeah, no, we can see. That's so cool. And you did all this.
Yes, I did. This used to be a huge wall and pretty much gutted the whole place and did everything. And we have this beautiful garden here. I'll show you that. You like plants, buddy? We lost him a little, huh?
No, he's still looking. He just
Okay,
can't
cool.
see the
Let
frame.
me show you our amazing garden. So, wow, look at how huge. These squash plants are gigantic.
Oh, fun.
So you'll see plastic in the yard. That's because we're solarizing here, which is a weed killing. It's the only way to get rid of Bermuda grass in Arizona. But here's our garden.
Really? Is you put plastic down?
Yeah, you cover it, you water it really well, and you put plastic down for like 6 weeks, and it makes all the seeds sprout, and then it starves them of oxygen, and it kills all the weeds.
Whoa.
So anyway, that's our yard, buddy. It's
So-
beautiful right now, sunset. I love the free flow form of your podcast. It's really great.
Yeah. Well, obviously
Anyhow.
this won't really translate to the audio, but we'll definitely keep it on the video.
Exactly. That's fair. Right on, Porter.
Yeah, awesome, Vidu. It's so nice having you on, and I'll chat with you later. And I can't wait to hear more of your album. It sounds.
I look forward to seeing you in person again one of these days when all this thing's
too.
over.
Maybe I'll invite you to like China to play percussion or something.
Hell yeah, I want to go to China.
Can you go to outer space again?
You want outer space? No problem. We can make that happen.
We're gonna say bye because we.
Yeah, last time. This is the last one.
Nice.
Floating in space. Whoa. Okay.
Whoa. All right. Bye. Say bye.
Love to you all.
Love
Aloha.
you. Bye.